Well, hello to you. It's Scott Picken, CEO and founder of Migrate and founder of the WealthE University. And I wanted to bring you a video which I think will be very valuable for you. Now, I'm in Naivasha in Kenya, and I'm on a workshop here which is all around money and mission and your relationship with money. And the whole philosophy is that if you don't resolve your relationship with money, you'll never achieve your mission. Now, I'm with Alexandra Inchbolt and Peter Kunich and a number of people from all over the world who've traveled all the way to Kenya to experience this. And I wanted to share with you some of my highlights from day one. Now, it's very difficult in a short video to express these, but I just wanted to give you a couple of them. Firstly, just in terms of Peter Kunich's experience, he's been doing this for 40 years. He did an MBA 40 years ago. He was 33 years old. He's now 73 years old. He's working for a big American multinational doing property in Europe, primarily Switzerland. And he was looking at how pension funds at the time were coming into the property industry and how they were actually just getting it completely wrong. But what was interesting is he was doing all this strategy planning with pension funds, and he realized that at an individual level, if they didn't solve their own challenges with money, they would never actually achieve their ultimate mission. And that resonates with me because that's what I see with every single person that I've been assisting. So he studied the money system. He's the leading authority in the world on this. No one else has ever actually done this at a personal level. And it's interesting, when you look at the money system, it's been going for 350 years. It was actually, the current money system was invented in the 17th century. And when you create a system, it's all about design and purpose. And when you look at the current system, it's worked really well. I mean, we've basically figured out how to monetize and materialize the world's resources. And if you look at how successful it's been, if you look at the improvement in health, in the improvement in people's lives, jobs, everything, it's education. It's had a massive improvement, but it's time for change. And I think when you look at it, we hit a peak in the 1960s. And we've now got 300 years of conditioning, but the world is changing, and we're either going to change or we're going to experience pain as the world changes. So let me just turn my book over here. What I think is really important is he says, with regards to relationship with money, if you don't move your internal relationship with money, then your external relationships will remain the same. So it always starts with the inside. And he says there were two lessons we learned in our lives. And the very first lesson, between the ages of 1 and 2, we learned if we want something, you need money. And the lesson number 2 was that you had to work hard for money. And it's really interesting because he says that, we've all been taught to work hard for money, and then, ultimately we can have something in the future that we actually want. So it's all about earning a living and basically deserving to even be on this planet in terms of the overall process, so that we can do what we want in the future. The guy that invented the financial system was Picken. And that was accredited. He was a friend of Leonardo da Vinci. So I'm just reading my notes here because there's a lot of material here. But it's now being completely disrupted. And most people think it's being disrupted by blockchain and crypto. But actually it's not, because what was invented in the 17th century was the bookkeeping system, which was a sum, of debits and credits, and where everything had to equal out, and how the world is now completely changing. It's interesting because you and I speak about money every 2.5 minutes. In terms of it. And the only way to change it is to move the conscious levels. And there's a whole thing here, and I'm clearly going to have to do a webinar with Peter around the evolution of money. But there's 2 questions you need to ask yourself. Firstly, what is money for me? And secondly, where does money come from? It's really, really interesting. And he goes on to say that money is actually in your head. And there's a whole definition around that in terms of the working things. And then he went on to say there's 3 types of people in the world. The first is where they're living in an absolute positive state, and where but they save, but they're too scared to make investments. So they're like a little squirrel who takes all their nuts and puts them in their nest in case of a rainy day. Then you've got the negative person that lives in debt, and quite frankly, if you look at their bank balance, it's always in negative. And then you've got the third person that makes money and pushes it away, and their bank balance is generally around 0. And so there's 3 steps to solve this. You firstly get conscious of your pattern. You secondly have to decondition and be very conscious of your decisions. And thirdly, you have to be very clear on the outcome that you're wanting to achieve, your mission, your purpose, so that you can realize that purpose and you can manifest your calling. Now, he uses an entire process. We spent the whole afternoon on this called reclamation. I can't do a reclamation for you. I can't explain what a reclamation is, but in simple terms, it's owning all the parts of you that you've discounted or didn't have in your life so that you live in a balanced way. So, as an example with me, I see money as freedom. And what he taught me to say was that I have freedom with and without money. And the whole purpose is that I don't push a positive attribute of freedom onto, I'm only free when I have money. It's that I can be free with and without money. And if you've got a negative thought about money, then you need to work on that and you need to embrace that. Otherwise, you'll always be pushing money away. And there's a whole thing. He worked with all of us through that process. And as I said, I look forward to doing a webinar with him where he can actually do that live for a couple of people. What he did say is if you're not doing what you love in life, a couple of things will manifest for you. Frustration, you'll feel very drained, illness, jealousy of other people, and guilt. Guilt about what you're actually doing if you're not living your life actually fully. And it's really important that you manifest your calling. And that can only happen once we reclaim all the parts of ourselves. So that's what the whole reclamation is all about. And how do we do that? Well, most people think that it's changing your circumstances, but actually there's a lower level below that. That's your attitude, your behaviors, your perspective, your belief, and your habits. But actually you've got to go a deeper level to that even still. And that's around your identity. And, basically how you see yourself as a person. And the last two things that I think are really important there, sorry, this book's quite heavy, is that, the normal way, the way we've all been conditioned, the way my father taught me was that you had to work and you had to earn money. And then you basically went out and I'm not going to be able to show or maybe I can. You can see my diagram on the right-hand side there, where you can see the normal way of doing it. And it's work and earn money. And then finally you'll do it and you'll be there and finally you'll have what you want. But it's all based on the premise of what we were taught from literally the years we were born, which is that we had to earn our existence and we had to secure our existence. And the world has completely changed now, where you need to do what you love, do what you want to do. What is your life path, your passion and your purpose? And then, effectively all your needs will be met. And there's a whole model around how this actually works. And again, I can't explain this in a short video. I think it's really, really important though that you learn this. And as I move on to my last page, I had a really interesting thing last night around authority for myself and how important authority was and how authority, power and responsibility come together, and how you won't achieve your mission unless you find that purpose, power within yourself, that ultimately comes back to your mission. But you're not going to be able to do that unless you reclaim all the parts of yourself, you understand your relationship with money, and ultimately you surrender to the parts of you that are good and the parts of you that are bad. So for me, it's been an absolutely fascinating day, a very, very tough day, but gave me incredible insight into where the world was going. And my last little thing that was a huge takeaway for me was that the strongest system on the planet is the honeycomb. And it's a system of cells. If you look at the body, it's a system of cells. And the only way to change the planet is to change an individual at a time, to change yourself at a time, and then to work on cells. And then those cells work together to change the world. And it's one of the reasons I'm making this video. It's one of the reasons I'm learning this, is that if I can change myself, I can have an impact on others. And then those others can have an impact on the world. And hopefully we can live up to our purpose, which is to help solve the wealth gap. And my mission of I help create a world of wealth, health, and happiness by having lots of fun and inspiring growth and change. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you did sign up to the channel, I'll bring you today's insights. And more importantly, I will definitely try and organize a webinar with Peter Kunich for our inner circle and those people that are part of our community. So make sure you're signing up to our community so you can get access to that knowledge. So that's Scott signing out from Naivasha here in Kenya. You can see the awesome African landscape behind me. And yep, I haven't been able to shave because they lost my bags for 2 days. So I've literally been here in the clothes I arrived in. But it's certainly been a very challenging time in terms of challenging my beliefs in terms of where the world's going and how to help be part of the solution to creating the world we want to see. Till tomorrow. Cheers.